All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hello and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's Data Plus Diversity event. If this is your first time joining one of these events, Data Plus Diversity is a series that provides a platform for community conversations surrounding the challenges and solutions to diversity in data. For those who do not know who I am Chantilly Jaggernauth. I'm the Vice President of Data Visualization and Training at Lovelytics based in Arlington, Virginia. I'm also the founder and CEO of the nonprofit organization Millennials in Data, or #MAD, where I work to bridge the data literacy and analytical skills gap by training, mentoring, and preparing millennials to enter a data-driven global environment. I'm also a 5-year Tableau visionary and member of the Tableau Equity Task Force, and I'm your host today, and I'm super excited to be your host today. If you have to drop early, this session is being recorded, and we will share it with everyone after today's event. If you have any questions for our presenters today, please feel free to submit them using the Q&A function so that we can see them as they come through. And please continue to use the chat feature to engage and get to know each other. Definitely tell us where you're coming in from. We'll be randomly giving a few of Faith Ruto, our guest speaker's book today. We'll be giving away her book today. So please be sure to drop great questions in the Q&A and also use the chat. Today's event is in celebration of Women's History Month, which is primarily celebrated in the United States. It's a month of recognition and celebration of women and all that they have done across all walks of life, but equally also the month of empowerment, awareness, and fearlessness in the service of our goal of gender equality. We possess immense power and are capable of creating change in our communities and the world at large. Women's history is not just about our struggles, but also about our triumphs and the ability to harness our power to make a lasting impact. We are encouraging all to tap into their own power, strength, and potential. I am so excited to have Faith Ruto joining us today to share an empowering and inspiring talk about navigating your career during uncertain times. She'll share practical strategies to navigate the workplace and how you can find balance in your work and home life balance. Her goal is to leave you with the confidence that will help you achieve your career goals. Faith is a triple certified executive coach and international keynote speaker, specializing in female leadership development and partnering with organizations to help retain and advance diverse talent. She is the author of Transform Within, 7 Strategies for Professional Growth and Resilience, and the CEO and director of Transformation 21st. Faith has over 20 years of global experience in personal development, marketing, IT, and business transformation. She has been shortlisted for numerous awards and has gained recognition for her philanthropic work, mentoring students, women, and advocating for equality for all. Outside of work, Faith is the public speaker ambassador for Eve Appeal, a gynecological cancer charity, a mom of 2, a keen runner, and an amateur golfer. So without further ado, I'd like to pass things over to you, Faith.
Well, thank you so much and welcome, everyone. It's really fantastic to see people from across the US. I'm joining you today from England, UK, where it's quite grey. If you've been to London or the UK, you know that we love to talk about our weather. And we've had rain today, we've had sunshine today, and right now it's just grey, but I'm not going to let that dampen my mood. I'm really excited to be speaking to you today. I want to say thank you to Alicia Jensen for finding me on LinkedIn and inviting me as your guest speaker today. I'm going to be sharing my screen, so let's just do that quickly before I get lost in conversation. So bear with me a moment. So here we are. So as we've already mentioned, the purpose of this session is about finding balance, helping you to find balance, but also to reflect. So the first thing I want to do is ask all of you that are here live now to tune into this conversation if you can. I know that most of us like to listen to live webinars or events sometimes when we're multitasking, but I would like to ask you if you can, for this moment, to use this space as your time, your 1 hour, a gift to yourself, 45 minutes gift to yourself, just a space where you're going to be reflecting on your own journey, your own career, and seeing how some of these topics that I will mention might resonate with you. So we're going to talk about balance. We're going to be talking about confidence. But overall, it's really about career strategies for all of us. We're all different. We all have a different responsibility, whether that's at home or in your career. So it's very important that my content is for all of you. And I'm really excited to be here today. Before I go into my presentation, I think that it's important that I tell you about myself, my journey. And when I share my content, it's not going to be a data-driven presentation. So I know that you're a data team. So apologies in advance if some of you are looking for really interesting data, but the data is actually going to come from yourselves, okay? The data is going to be your own self-reflection. The data is going to be your own experience in this area. So I want to start by talking about my career journey. I'm originally from Uganda, which is in East Africa. I came to the UK 30 years ago. I know I don't look that old, but yes, I did. And migrating to the UK was a culture shock for me. As I don't know if some of you have been to Africa or to Uganda, but culturally, it's a very warm continent, weather-wise, but also people. And for me, coming to the UK was a culture shock. A Black girl in a predominantly white school. I experienced racism. I realized at that time that I needed, at a very young age, I needed to be driven. And I remember very clearly thinking about my career at a very young age. And that drove me to studying business and IT. I went to university here in the UK. After that, I got a job with Shell, which is a global company. I'm sure you all know the Pecton. And I was straight away put into an IT environment where I was one of 25. There was only 3 females in the team. Some of you will resonate with being the only female in the room. And that feeling is quite intimidating. But not only being the only female, but being one of the youngest. And then not only being one of the youngest, but also being a Black female. So straight away, I realized that I was different with my race and my gender and my background. And I needed to quickly build my confidence. I needed to build confidence to speak up in meetings. I was leading projects, global projects. So again, I needed to expose myself, to what was going on external to the UK market. And I'm sure most of you now are working in a team where, the projects that you're managing is global. And that comes with opportunities, but also challenges as well. So I remember a lot of traveling when I was, early in my career. But again, one of the key memory or the key learning I learned working in IT department or the tech space was the importance to always be adaptable to change, always be proactive. During my time in Shell, I also completed an executive MBA. And you could say that was partly to do with my upbringing, African upbringing. You need to have an education, but also my passion for learning. I've always been a learner. I also got married. I had my 2 children. And what was really important for me at that time of my life was my faith. And I am a very inclusive person. So I welcome everyone. And whether you're a Christian or whatever faith that you have, I think it's critical when you are going through uncertainty and you're facing adversity. Your faith is really important. But for me, the truth is, and I think I wanted to be transparent and vulnerable in this conversation with you today, I also realized the pressure of working, the pressure of being a working mom. And I experienced burnout and stress. And for me, I didn't recognize it at the time until, I really felt I had no energy left. And, you may have seen world leaders, resigning from their job. I think here in the UK, we've had, the Prime Minister of Scotland or the Prime Minister of New Zealand. And, I'm sure in the US, you've had many prominent leaders stepping down from their posts and saying that was due to burnout, and burnout being stress. So this is something that, for me, it made me realize the importance of self-care, the importance of finding a hobby. I've always been into running, so that really helped me. But it was 2014, that I realized that my passion was beyond systems, beyond processes, beyond technology. I retrained and I changed my career completely to working in what I now do, which we've already mentioned, is helping others, in as my own company. But that is about me, and I'm sure you all have a story and a journey to tell. Why does this matter to you? Why should you take that into account? I think I wanted to talk about the key strategies that has helped me get to where I am today, the key strategies that has helped my clients, because I work with world leaders, I work with female, male, I work with everyone, non-binary, I work with everyone. And the thing that I have picked up over the last 10 years or so is that the fundamental to having a successful career, and the fundamental to having balance, the fundamental to having confidence, is these 5 things: health, growth mindset, self-leadership, relationship, and balance. There are things that also happen that it's outside of our control. But today, I want to focus on these 5 elements. So, what do I mean by health? I mean that the importance of managing your health is so important. Prioritizing your health above everything. It's very easy to say, but I believe that if you can have that realization that without your health, you cannot have a successful career. Without your health, you cannot have a family. Without your health, you cannot have the hobbies or friends. Your health is really important. And sometimes it takes time for you to come to that realization. Sometimes you realize that your health is a priority when you've suffered, burnout or overwhelm. But for today, I'm saying things like self-care. We talk about it a lot, but what does it actually mean? To you, what does self-care mean? Do share your thoughts in the chat. But for me, self-care might mean going to bed early. It might mean saying no, setting clear boundaries. Sleep. We talk about, okay, have 8 hours of, 8 hours of sleep a day, or sorry, a night. And we just become so used to just throwing these words around. But are we doing it? Are you getting enough sleep? If I was to ask you all, how many hours of sleep do you get? How many of you would say 8 hours? I would say on average, people get 6, sometimes even less. Managing your health also require, quieting yourself down. So having time for reflection and meditation, is so important. We are living in a fast-paced and, environment, especially you're all, IT professionals, or should I say tech professionals. The speed of change and the speed of your work, it's so fast-paced that if you don't slow down yourself, you don't force yourself to slow down, if you don't force yourself to take that annual leave, those vacations, we have Easter coming up. If you celebrate Easter, just saying, I'm going to put my phone off, I'm going to, lock away my laptop or, my tablet, all these things. If you don't do that, it's, you are constantly going to be on. And it's so important that you have the self-regulation to say, no, I am not going to be on. I am going to, to have quiet time. I'm going to have reflective time. So that's really, really key. Being aware of your own environment is also very important as a part of managing your health. That's more in the physical world, but also online. As a founder, one of the things that I hear a lot with people that either think of setting up their own businesses or are in high-powered job is that there's this pressure to always be present, always be on. And that can also put a lot of pressure on your own health. So make your health your priority, mental, physical, and emotional health, and you will start to see the benefit of that. I also want to talk about cultivating a growth mindset. I'm going to, most of you might have seen this image already, the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. I believe that it was Professor Carol Drake that first coined this term, or this, did a study in the power of our mindset. And I believe that for you to navigate change and to grow in your career, it's so important that you seek growth and development. I don't think I need to preach that to data specialists like yourselves. I'm sure you are always learning and you're always pushing yourself to grow. But it's so important that you do that. Uncertainty is an opportunity, right? 20 years ago, when I started my career, we just believed that you worked for one company and that was it. You collected your paycheck, that was it. But I think we're now living in a very dynamic world where uncertainty is the only certainty. That's all we have. So when uncertainty presents itself, yes, it's very scary. Yes, it's unpleasant, but look for the opportunity in that. Be inspired by success. When you have a growth mindset, you're not going to be threatened by other people's success. Instead, you're going to be inspired. Your mindset determines your result. So what you think you want to achieve in your career will push you, your behavior will push you to behave in a certain way. And therefore you always be in this state of, pushing yourself forward. But the moment that you realize that that's it, I'm limited, you will not grow, you will not push yourself beyond your comfort zone. So cultivate a growth mindset. Understand that sometimes you have to persevere. Understand that sometimes you have to maybe work on really challenging projects, but that in itself will bring learning for you. It will also expose the gaps that you have in your learning. But sometimes it might also present opportunity. You might realize that actually the role that I'm performing is not using my passion. The role is not using my core strength, and you might identify opportunity when you are struggling. So remember to have a growth mindset. What else do I want to tell you? I want to tell you about self-leadership. Self-leadership for me is about how you manage your beliefs, your emotions, and your thoughts. What do I mean by that? Well, take for example, if you are someone who is very ambitious, and you believe that you want to go to the next level. If you don't believe that you can do that, you're not going to get there. So the first thing is it starts with your own self-belief, and that's where your confidence comes from. So you have to be that person that believe in themselves so that others can see, that drive. People can see that you have something in you and they can help you get, to where you want to go. The other important thing about being, a self-leader is to have a vision, and actually think about the purpose for your career and life, right? It's very easy to say, okay, well, my parents wanted me to work in tech, or, I'm passionate about this, but then you don't have a vision. Where are you going with your career? I know it's not easy to predict where you're going to be in 6 months. I don't think any of us can predict what's going to happen in the next 3 months, but it doesn't stop us from having a vision. You could still have a vision for your career. You can still have a vision for your life, right? So try and create space in your daily time to think, okay, what is my vision? What is my vision for my career this year? What's my vision for my family life, right? And by doing that, it puts you in the driving seat. You're no longer just, watching your life go by. You're no longer just, being frustrated by events that you're going to be encounter. Having a purpose is something that I talk a lot about in my book, and it's very challenging for most of us to define what that means. But I think for me, having a purpose is where you are aligned yourself with, your calling, and for most of us, we don't know what that is. But I assure you, most of you know what you're good at. Most of you know what fires you up. Most of you know what you're excited about, right? And sometimes your passion is not necessarily your paid job. It could be something else. It could be something that you do after work, right? But by having a combination of everything that really brings you joy, that really makes you excited, you are going to excel in life. But also you're going to be more resilient when you're facing those uncertain times. Set smart goals, right? I'm sure you do that in your day job. The first thing you do at the beginning of every month or the beginning of every year is set goals. Right? Those goals are specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're realistic. But why not do the same for yourself? Why not do the same for your life? Right? And then take action. The most important thing is, yes, you've set the goals, but then you have to take action. Sometimes fear gets in the way. Sometimes we procrastinate. Sometimes we find everything else being urgent and important, and then we don't do the things that we really want to do. So my challenge to you is like, yes, set yourself a goal. Sometimes if you're not motivated by those goals, scrap them, right? If you had the same goal in your in tray or wherever you put your goals, and you're not actually doing anything about it, maybe you're not even motivated by that goal anymore. Maybe you've outgrown the goal, right? So think about yourself, why do you have these goals? And what are you going to get at the end? What is it, the why? What is driving you toward that goal? And take action. And any action, for me, is every action counts, right? So it doesn't matter how big those actions are, as long as you are moving forward. Self-awareness is fundamental for self-leadership. There's no way there's no way you can grow in your career without being self-aware. Some people try. Self-awareness is also about receiving feedback. Sometimes the feedback that you don't really want to hear, and the negative ones, they're actually probably the best feedback that you need. So being self-aware means you know what your weaknesses are, you know what your strength points are, you also know things that you don't like, you've done a personality test, all these little things, but it helps you with your self-leadership because it prepares you for when you're facing uncertain times. It prepares you to grow in your career. So for me, self-leadership is about understanding that we are all leaders, right? Some of you might have a title as the lead, you might have a manager title, some of you might be really early in your career and you don't have a leader title yet. Self-leadership is for all of us, not just for the leaders, it's for all of us. And I think if you can master this self-leadership, you can then lead others, right? You can motivate others, you can mentor others. So some of you might thinking, Faith, this is basic stuff, I know this already, but are you doing it? Right? Are you doing it? That's a key thing. We all know some of these things already, but are you actually practicing it? So master your self-leadership. The other thing that I think is so critical is managing your relationship. And this is about creating time. And I use the word create time. I don't say make time. I think we all have 24 hours a day, whether you are in the US, Africa, UK, Australia, we get the same amount of time. But you got to create the time for when you see your family. And especially now in the tech space, we're very good at having WhatsApp groups and, Facebook and Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. And, you can have everybody there, but who do you spend your time with? Who do you call when you need help? Who are you helping? So being intentional with your time for your friends, your relationship, your community is so powerful and so important. Having a mentor, especially if you're earlier on in your career, make sure you have someone that mentors you, someone that you can share your career aspiration with. You have a sponsor, and the difference between a sponsor and a mentor is that a sponsor is someone who's a bit more senior, and they are in your line of business or your function. They're able to see opportunity. They're able to help you to realize your potential. I say a coach because 20 years ago, only the executive leaders at a very, at board level got coaching. But now coaching is available to everybody. And I'm a firm believer, I think Bill Gates said, we should all have a coach, right? You don't need to pay thousands of dollars to have a coach. You can if you want a really good one. But I believe that everyone should have a coach. And then sometimes you might actually say, you know what, I need a therapist. And the difference there is that you might be going through things that even a coach cannot help you, even a mentor cannot help you, and you need a professional to help you. There's no shame in that, right? And I believe that the sooner you do those things, the sooner that you help yourself in those ways, that the better you're going to be, the more equipped you're going to be. Manage your personal brand and be visible. Yes, we're all talking about personal branding internally in your organization, but also externally. So making sure that you're visible on LinkedIn, Twitter, social media, the platform that you love, the platform that you like, right? We all have platform that we absolutely love, the platform that we hate. Find the one that you like, find the one that you can see that there is a community, your tribe, and use that. But professionally, you should all be using LinkedIn. You should have just your profile, you should have a good image. You should be doing things on LinkedIn to be visible, but also to help your own personal growth. Be intentional with your time. I cannot say that enough. Be intentional with your time. If you have any questions, please do ask them. If you have comments, do add them to the chat. This is your moment. This session is for you. I'm just sharing with you these key points, but please, use the chat and the question. Maintain balance. Is that really possible? We talk about this a lot. We say it's impossible to maintain balance. Work-life balance doesn't exist. Some professionals like to use the term work integration. I like the word balance because we all know what balance feels like, right? We know when our life is balanced. It doesn't mean that you're not in balance in a way, but we all understand when we're feeling balanced. So for me, I say, start with creating a daily ritual What does that look like? It's all different for different people. There's people that say, okay, the 5 a.m. club, fantastic. If you're really an early riser, as I already mentioned, I have two young, well, they're not that young, but I have two kids, right? I'm not going to wake up at 5 a.m. To meditate or do any of that stuff. I'll wake up at a reasonable time. But what I make sure I do every single day is that I do a workout, I do Pilates, I go for walks, just simple things that I feel that it helps me feel balanced. But also the ritual is important because when you get really busy, when you're doing those projects and sometimes, you're working like long hours, having those daily ritual will really help you with managing your stress level. It will help you with just being, feeling a bit more centered. So even if you don't feel stressed, I think just get into the habit of creating a daily ritual. Don't make it too complicated. Don't copy other people because we're all very different. Focus on opportunities, not adversity. Learn to respond, not react to uncertainties. That's how you maintain balance. Change and adversity is going to happen all around us. It's not our job to react continuously. So when I said respond, I mean pause, right? You've just done a project. It hasn't gone the way you've planned it. Instead of reacting or overreacting, just pause. Just say, team, let's just all take time out for a bit. Let's just reflect. And once you're responding, you learn that actually will help you, physiologically, psychologically, you'll be a bit more calmer. Ask for help, especially professionally. Ask for help. There's no shame in saying, I'm stuck. I am overwhelmed. I don't understand. I am struggling. Ask for help. And I think sometimes we are so worried about what other people are thinking that we don't focus on what we need to do. Know when to slow down. Only you can do that. No one can say to you, slow down. Some people can say to you, when they see you struggling, they might say, slow down. But you need to learn for yourself. And for me, like I was trying to show you my experience, I've learned the hard way because I am a high achiever, highly driven. I'm going to go and get it. And I have a lot of energy. My energy is something that is probably a negative. I have lots of energy and I'm going. But actually, I've learned that sometimes I need to slow down. So set clear boundaries. When are you working? When are you offline? If you're a family, if you're listening to me and you have children, turn your mobile phone off, right? It's very difficult to juggle them all together. So when you're with your children, just say to your boss or your colleagues, between these hours, I am unavailable. And you'll find that children are really reasonable. It's actually only maybe 3 hours at the end of your day that you need that full time with them. And then after that, to have your phone back on if you need to have your phone back on. But I think it's, you set a good example for yourself, but also for those around you. If you're leading people in your team, set the right example and make sure that you are not sending emails during the weekends because that put pressure on others. They feel like, oh, okay, I've got an email, I need to respond to it. Maybe they don't even need to respond to it, right? So what you do for yourself also impacts others, and the behavior that you want to see in other people, you need to also start the work yourself, okay? So that's what I want to say in terms of maintain balance. I think it is possible. It takes self-discipline. It's taken me years, but I now have a great balance. I don't work weekends, but I think because I work for myself, it's a bit easier, okay? So I can hear some of you already saying, Faith, it's easy for you because you don't have a boss. But it's actually the opposite. When you work for yourself, you're so, you just want to say yes to every client because that equals money. But actually what I've learned is that if I don't say no, I pay later with my health. I pay later with, other issues and challenges. So really, it's now become very easy for me to say no. And I say to all my clients, it doesn't matter whether you're a CEO of like the biggest company in the world, set yourself some clear boundaries because it is possible to have balance. Okay, sounds like I'm preaching here. I'm sorry. This is kind of my style. I like to tell you as it is. So we've looked at your health, we looked at your growth mindset, we looked at self-leadership, relationship, and now balance. The main thing I want you to take away is that learn to focus on what you can control and influence, right? When you're dealing with adversity, when you're dealing with uncertainty, what can you influence? What can you impact? What can you control? If something is really outside your control, start learning to let that go or start learning how to manage that. And I put there, in blue here, because there'll be things to do with political climate. We all know globally, I mean, I know a lot about the US politics, probably more than the UK, because we're all tuned in a lot, but there'll be things that are going on that you can't control. So why allow yourself to be so involved, so invested with your energy and time, in dialogue that does not benefit you or the people in your space? So just really be curious, but be really purposeful. Just be aware of how you use your time, where your energy is going, what you're involving yourself in, because that in itself is going to be key in how you manage, the balance in your life, the relationship in your life, your health, all these things. It takes energy away from you. So making sure that you are monitoring your involvement with external factors, that's also very important. We have just scraped the surfaces, shall I say. What I've shared with you is normally a 6 months program for corporate, or it's a 6 weeks, one-to-one program where we go really deep into individual, journeys or what is going on. So this is just a tester, shall I say, to get you thinking beyond data, right? As you probably noticed, there was no data here. And I said I was not going to go into data because you do that already. You're the experts. I'm not going to start bombarding you with data, but this content comes from my own experience with working with leaders, some research around what really helps successful leaders. And that's where we are. So I think we need to wrap this up a little bit. But the key summary really is, as you know, innovation and technological changes is happening all around us. So you need to be more agile. You need to be proactive. It's about you taking control and being, responsive, not reactive. It's about your mindset and attitude. And this is my favorite quote. I have it in my book. Choose to live your life by faith, not fear. And faith, I don't mean religiously, I mean hope. Okay. We're living in a world where there's so many bad news, but what can you do about it? Try and have hope in your life. Okay. And then I think that is it. So I'm going to stop now. If we have any questions coming from the floor, over to you, Alicia and Chantilly, to manage the next part.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Faith. I took so much away from your presentation, and I know the audience did as well. We did have a few questions come in, so I'll quickly run through those. From Lexi Jones, in the 5 key strategies image with the concentric circles, should we interpret this as similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, i.e. health is a requisite before moving to the next level? I'm just curious because potentially changing our prioritizing our health may require us to have the self-leadership, self-awareness, confidence, and a growth mindset to tackle changes that need to occur.
Wow. Lexi, what a wonderful question. I think you get the book. That's a fantastic question. And it's almost like you read my mind. When I started that diagram, I actually had the Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? I had a pyramid and I had the health at the bottom, because I was thinking to myself, without health, you really don't have any of this stuff, right? But your question is really important, because it takes actually realization. You need to have everything in place to kind of realize how important your health is. But I'm saying you don't need to do that. If from today, if there's 94 of you here, you could just say, my health is my number one thing, right? I'll figure out the growth mindset stuff, the confidence stuff, But if I take nothing from this talk, let me start to pay attention to my health, because without that, your confidence is really, like, I'll speak from my own experience during the pandemic, homeschooling. I don't know how many of you were homeschooling, homeschooling locked in the house. It was really hard to get us confidence, but I knew that my health was number one. So walking every single day. So they're all interconnected. There's no wrong or right here. But I'm just saying, if you do none of the 5, start with your health. But and things like confidence is like a muscle. If you go to the gym, the more you go to the gym, the more, the healthier you become. Same with confidence. People say to me, oh, I've lost my confidence. It's possible to lose your confidence, especially if some of you have been working hybrid. If you're working from home, you haven't been in the office before for a while, you will know that your confidence has dipped, right? The next time you go to present in front of a large group, you feel like, I've been there. It happens to me too, and I'm a professional, so you can imagine what it's like, So yeah, so I think that was an excellent question. You can do both. So it's there's no kind of a linear, but I think start with your health first.
I totally agree there. I had to, after the pandemic, I saw myself, like working crazy hours because we're all at home, right, in front of our
Yeah,
computers and stuff, and my health just started to decline. So I was very intentional last year with prioritizing my health first, and I'll say like this year, I really feel that.
yeah, and the key, I haven't talked on the I haven't we haven't talked about hybrid working, but the thing about the hybrid working, it's fantastic, for giving you autonomy on your time, because you don't have the travel time anymore. Most of us spend an hour or two a day or even more going to work.
Yep.
Instead of logging on when you think you've just woken up, put a gym time, put a exercise time or a reading time, and I think all the company will understand. They will get the best of you if you're at the best in terms of physically, mentally, and physically, emotionally. So don't get tempted, the temptation to say, oh, because I'm working from home, I don't have a cutoff time. Your boss is not going to tell you that. Your manager won't tell you that. You have to tell yourself that. And that's where the self-leadership comes from.
Agreed.
Yeah.
From another member of the audience, how do you handle imposter syndrome?
Oh, see, if you had asked me these questions 3 years ago, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have imposter syndrome. But how you handle it is you recognize that it's there. You recognize that it is not you. It is maybe something, maybe it's an environment, or maybe there's a task, or a role. Something that you're doing has triggered that emotion in you that makes you feel like you're going to be found out, or you're not good enough, and you start having self-doubt. That is normal, right? So normalize imposter syndrome. It's a phase that you're going through, and you're going to overcome it. It doesn't define you. And the most important thing you can do with imposter syndrome is remind yourself that you have already been given that role or that project. So somebody believes in you more than you believe in you right now. Okay. And just remember that it's a temporary feeling. It will not last. But speak to someone, get a mentor, because a lot of us, especially women, we've all gone through this and we come out of it at the other end. Okay.
Absolutely. Sorry, I thought my internet was
That's
going out.
okay. That's okay.
That was a great segue into the next question from someone in the audience. How do you find a mentor or a sponsor?
Great question. So I think it's easier to find a mentor than a sponsor. Just for everyone, the definition here is that a mentor is someone that you look up to, or somebody who the company feel would benefit you in terms of your career growth. Sometimes they might recommend a mentor to you if you're like a new grad or new to the organization. But sometimes you might be proactive. My advice is be proactive. When I worked for Shell, they matched me with mentors who I did not click with. It was so painful to have meetings with these mentors because it did not work. So for me, find someone that you have a chemistry with. Make sure that they're maybe a bit senior or more experienced. It doesn't have to be more, it doesn't have to be like age related. You could even have a mentor who's younger than you. But as long as you think, what, there's something that this person is doing that can help me in my career. And you don't have to be very transactional about it. Mentoring is about relationship. It's about sharing. It's about wisdom. So you can find one by speaking to people. Think about people that you've met recently in the last 3 months who's inspired you. Think about online, who do you follow? Who do you like? What content do you like? Those people can be your mentor. And then sponsorship, I think this comes from the person within your organization. It tends to be someone that knows about your performance or might have influence as to your next role. And again, just ask. Yeah. Go, if you're not sure who can be a mentor or a sponsor, start saying to people, hey, can we have a 15 minutes virtual coffee? Or can we have a 15 minutes coffee? Or, don't be shy. Most senior people actually are very humble to be requested, but be clear as to what you're expecting from that relationship, and make sure that if it's a mentor saying for the next 6 months, I'm looking to move into this data, can you mentor me? Right? Be specific. Don't just have like an open-ended kind of mentoring thing.
Exactly. Be very intentional with it.
Yeah.
From another member of the audience on the topic of mentorship as well, when looking for a mentor, should you be expected to pay? I saw a site where they were offering mentorship services, but the fees were very high. I expect to pay for coaching or counseling, but not mentoring.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, that person. I think that mentoring, it depends. Again, I'm not, it depends on what you are looking for specifically. Let's say, I run my own business and I'm looking to grow my business and I'm looking for a mentor to like a scaling up mentor. Yes, they might charge for that, right? But if you're genuinely looking for like a career, mentor, someone like like a sounding board, I believe that should come freely. And within this community, that's like, over 90 of you in here, I would actually say, if you think you could be a mentor to someone, put it in the chat. If you think you have what it takes to be a mentor, put it in the chat. If you look for a mentor, put it in the chat. And, maybe the team can, try and do a kind of a connection so that out of today, we have one or two people that actually found their mentor this way. But I would advise, don't pay for a mentor if you don't need to pay for one.
I definitely agree. It should
Yeah.
be it should just be something that develops like over time, like that
Okay, yeah.
relationship you were talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. But
Um,
also ask other people, maybe ask your manager. If your manager is saying you need to develop in one area, just say, look, I'm looking for a mentor. Can you recommend somebody? And most bosses, good bosses, will always recommend someone for you.
exactly, because they know you, because they've been working with you. So
Yeah.
we're there.
Yeah.
From another member of the audience, do you have any recommendations on any prompts we can use to help define our vision and purpose for our life?
Big question. Start by buying my book. Joking aside, no, I think what you need to do is step back. I would say take it. A lot of us have wonderful thoughts when we're not in work mode. So whether that's during the weekend or whether you're on a vacation, just try and think to yourself, what do I want to be remembered for? That is the biggest prompt. If you have never asked yourself that question, it's a bit morbid, but imagine that, you're in your 80s or nowadays in your hundreds year, right? And people are asking you, look back in your life, what do you want to be remembered for? Right? That will give you a vision. That will give you a clue as to what it is that you really feel is your calling in life. And a lot of us get so excited by this idea of having a vision that we might set up, a side hustle, which is to do with like maybe charity. I think, Chantilly, you're doing something with doing charity. I'm sure that's purely, related to your vision of this need to help other people, to help others. And that doesn't stop you from doing your day job, right? Your purpose and vision could be being a volunteer for a charity or something, right? So, but I think once you have a purpose, that will help you really manage that feeling of being fulfilled in your life.
Yeah, I definitely agree. My passion is to teach and to give back to
Yeah.
students and show them like kind of like the path that I took to get here, especially like students that look like me. And I use my day job in data analytics to make sure that the things that I'm teaching them, they can relate to. Like these are real world things that they can understand. So I
Yeah.
definitely agree there.
Yeah.
A question from Lisa Peterson. Any recommendations for managing the pressure of being asked or demanded to do more at work? I know setting boundaries is important, but this can be difficult in a work setting. Taking on more than you can handle can imperil health and balance.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I can see 4 people have liked it, which means there's more than one person asking the question. I think the most important thing is to be transparent. When you're being asked to do something, be transparent by saying, so first of all, the first question I would ask you is, are you comfortable saying no? Sometimes people say, I don't feel like I should say no to my manager because I don't know, they might fire you. It could be just a fear that you have, or it could be a sign of respect that you have. But the first thing is, are you as a person comfortable in saying no to people? Secondly, you might want to say not yet, or you might just want to be very realistic, right? So if someone gives you some piece of work on a Friday evening, you might just say that, thank you so much for this work, but just to manage your expectation and timeline, I am not available to do this during the weekend. I can do it on Monday, and just see how they react. Start to learn how to kind of say, this is my availability, and see whether people will respect that. If you're working in an environment where people just expect you to work all the time that you have to now basically say, I cannot, this is what I can do. You have to learn that, you have to almost like get that confidence to start saying no, or just being transparent and say, okay, you've asked me to do 10 things. Which of these 10 is the top priority that you need done by tomorrow? Which do you need by, so basically be very clear so that people can help you manage the workload, and especially if you're working with someone who expects everything done instantly because they have poor boundaries, they would expect you to do the same. Or it could be that you have, time sensitive deliverable. And in that instant, instead of saying no, you might just want to be transparent and say, look, if I say yes to this, then just to be very clear, I cannot do X, Y, Z, right? If there are team members that can pick those things up, that would help that person and would help you. So the most important thing is be really transparent. Don't be fearful of what will happen if you say no or if you push back. Yeah. I hope that helps a little bit. But it starts with you. Set the boundaries. Don't be scared. You're on mute, I think.
Yes, I was on mute. One more question from the audience. Have you found a way to guide your children so that they have a foundation for their own future life in the workplace?
Oh, what a wonderful question. So my son is called Miles, he's 10. My daughter is Maya, after Maya Angelou, she's 12. And both children are very clear as to what they want to be. They have like 5 careers in mind, ranging from being a microbiologist to being an actor to being all sorts of things. But I tell you, the foundation that I teach my children is about mindset. I teach them about the importance of being a good character, because I think these things are transferable skills. The job that we have available now will not be available in 10, 15 years time. So as a parent, I would say, try not to be one of those parents who say to their children, you must become a doctor, you must be this. They must be guided by the passion that they have and the intention that they have. The most you can do for them, send them to good schools, spend time with them. Right now, as a parent, the most important thing that you can do is be with your children uninterrupted by your mobile phone. If you can do that, you're an amazing parent, right? It's not easy, and I won't judge anyone, but if you can do that, just demonstrate, what being a good citizen look like, by how you lead your life. Children will carry that forward. So the biggest guide you can give them is by live by example, right? Don't say do as I say, but do as I do. So lead by example. Set clear boundaries. If it's their time, weekend is their family time. If it's no phone time, there's no phone time. Just very basic things. That's how you can, really inspire your children and expose them to different things, especially now with tech being the future. Expose your children to different things so that they can find their own way. Hope that helps.
Yeah, definitely. Just making sure that they're a good person and building their character. And I really like what you said about, do as I do, watch as I do, so that puts it on the parent as well to make sure they're being a good person too.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're going to wrap up. And you provided amazing information and content during today's session. How can we best connect with you? Someone asked if you had a podcast or any other, medias. How can anyone connect with you?
Yeah, so I have it's a work in progress. I have a podcast, which is really actually for working moms. But I think the best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I shared my screen, I think, before, which is here. I don't know if you can all see it again. This is really the best way of connecting with me on LinkedIn. On my website, you can send me a direct email. I'm very approachable. info@transformation21st.com. And just or even go as far as booking a 30 minutes call with me, because I realize that we're running out of time. But if you have some kind of burning questions or you have coaching needs, reach out to me on LinkedIn, book a slot in. I'll be more than happy to connect with you that way. I'm also on Instagram which is at Faith Ruto T21 ST, on Instagram. But this is the best connection.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Faith. And
no
thank
worries.
you all for attending today's event. And Faith, thank you for joining us today and just sharing your time, your insights, and knowledge. We'll reach out to the winners of our book giveaway to get your shipping address, and congratulations to those who won. We hope you learned about ways data and analytics can be used to create a more inclusive, diverse, and equitable future for all. We'll be sure to share all of the links as well as the recording in our follow-up email. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or evening, and we hope to have you attend our next event. Thank you so much again, Faith, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Chantilly and Alicia. And have a fantastic day, everyone. It was really a pleasure to be with you today.
Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye. Bye.